Greetings, fellow mortals. Just a reminder, saying it's just my opinion is for cowards. I'm going to be honest here. Horror really isn't my favorite genre. It doesn't scare me really, and Mortal Kombat has numbed me so much to gore that nothing is shocking anymore. At the same time, Sinners and Weapons are in my top 5 films of this year, and I regret not making full videos about them, so I want to be more open to the genre, and I fully embraced it. Welcome to Derry, and well...
Oh, I forgot how bad it looks.
I've seen worse.
Not to say that this show is terrible in any way. In fact, there's nothing major that's a problem. It's just a bunch of small things adding up. Actually, except for one terrible bit of 20 minutes, which was so awful that I burst out laughing and almost quit the show completely. But we'll get to that. Overall, the individual parts are fine to good. It's when they all come together into a full picture that the problems truly appear. It, Welcome to Derry is the prequel to the original story of It, which is about a group of misfit kids who are being stalked and hunted by a strange paranormal creature which is capable of shapeshifting into their worst fears, although its most famous image is of Pennywise the Clown, and for the sake of clarity, I will be calling it either Pennywise or Monster just for the sake of not saying it over and over and over again, because that would get old in about 5 seconds. Now, don't get me wrong or anything, I am in no way an It connoisseur or a Stephen King lore master, if you will. I've read the book, never will do that again. I've seen all of the films, never felt the need to do so again. And no, I was not going to go back and watch anything for this review, especially because of how weird the kid part is in the book and how terrible the adult parts are in the movies.
Well, this sucks.
But I do remember most of it. The monster comes out of hibernation between 2 to 3 decades. Pennywise stalks the kids and tries to make them as afraid as possible in order to feed on their fears before consuming them when they're at their most terrified. Or not. Sometimes he just goes for the jugular at the start because the writers need Pennywise to do something different every time for the sake of story convenience.
Oh, how convenient!
But the idea of a shape-shifting monster haunting kids and eating them has really resonated with people. It's one of, if not the, most beloved of Stephen King's concepts. Even I understand it. It reminds me of that one dream I had when I was a kid. There was a man standing over me in the bed. He was wearing a trench coat and a hat and was smiling creepily. That really freaked me out. Did you know that was a common nightmare for a lot of people? For like 20 years, I thought it was a weird one-off dream from my childhood specifically. Just goes to show that I'm not as special as I thought.
And when everyone's super,
No one will be.
I think that moment of terror that I remembered throughout my entire life is what makes the idea of It, the monster of Pennywise, so scary. That childish fear, because there's nothing that you can do against an overwhelming force by your tiny little bed. Now though, my wife gets mad at me because I'll jump up and run towards strange noises in the middle of the night. I'm sorry, babe, but there might be an intruder that I need to shoot.
Yet enough? Huh? Yet enough? Huh?
It captures that sense of fear that you have as a child, which is why the idea always works better with kids, always, including in this show. And when you bring adults into the picture, the dynamics change so much that the story feels like whiplash. It, Welcome to Derry, has that exact same issue, but not in the same way as the book or the movies. It's that 2 different genres are mashing together, in fact, several different genres at different points.
Who are you people?
This might sound like I don't like the show at all, but I've actually really liked it for the most part if you break it down into segments. The individual sections are all well done, starting with the setting. The idea of putting Pennywise in the setting of the Cold War right after the Cuban Missile Crisis is absolutely brilliant. The fear radiating from every pore in that period of time would be perfect for this type of story. nuclear fallout, paranoid neighbors, racial segregation, sexism using this time period is absolutely brilliant.
Perfect. Everything, down to the last minute details.
And they use the aesthetics of the time period absolutely perfectly. If there's one thing that you can never take away from It, Welcome to Derry, it's that this show looks amazing. The costumes, the cars, the technology available at the time, the terms used during this time period, the shops, the homes, even the military base, and all the equipment inside. It was phenomenal. This excellent imagery continues into the horror aspect of the show. Whenever Pennywise was doing anything, that was the highlight of that particular episode. Every single time. The shift in camera angles, the perspective change, the acting involved, the effects, absolute perfect, absolute cinema, 10 out of 10. There are no complaints, notes, or anything else from me. In fact, they were so good that they kind of made everything else fall flat in comparison.
And here we go.
Don't forget that we have child actors here. At least half of the main cast are kids, and I still question the morality of having these kids work as actors at all, especially in horror. I don't know what they did to scare these kids, but they looked like they were about to pee themselves in those scenes. The acting was so good that it kind of was mind-blowing when they started to act like regular child actors. Not bad or anything, but the jump between the scenes with Pennywise to the normal scenes was noticeable.
Daddy, chill.
What the hell is even that?
In comparison, obviously, the adult acting is far more consistent and higher quality, which is good. All of their performances are great, which is also good because the character writing is about as stiff, one note, and plagued by stereotypes as the Richie, the Italian kid, is, who, if you don't know, is Italian. The show will make it very much known that this kid is Italian by screaming it from the heavens by every stereotype known to man.
I declare bankruptcy!
The same thing could be said with almost every single character. They are so one note and one dimensionally written, it hurts, and it's really the acting that brings up this wooden writing. Not to mention that they're all kind of stupid, at least a little bit. Will's parents specifically, they kind of forget that he's being targeted at times as they go about doing other things. And look, I know what they're doing is important, but their kid is in danger, and they straight up forget about it for a while there.
Hey, knock it off! There's a kid back there!
I'm in danger!
The same thing with the other characters. The old general, the voodoo guy who they desperately tried to remove the voodoo from in post-production, but they failed miserably in order to avoid that stereotype. The native old lady, the dork girl who wants to be popular. I could do this for almost every single character. They are too one note because there are too many of them and too much going on, and there's not a lot focused on. It, Welcome to Derry is trying to juggle too many plot points, characters, and storylines for what the concept of it can handle. Everything feels so separated at times. This is especially true when Pennywise shows up and the pace picks up by a factor of 7 and you're sitting on the edge of your seat, especially when the monster actually takes the form of the clown and you're like,
Finally! I've been trying to catch you boys all day!
I wouldn't say that the other parts are bad or anything. The civil rights issues, the insane asylum, the military versus the natives, all of the other plot points, none of them are bad or anything like that. They just feel rather separated and clumsy when you have a monster clown walking around being the most entertaining thing on the screen by far.
Well, hang on, you've just...
No, I like it. This is brilliant. But I like this.
The pacing without Pennywise is at a crawl. I say this about most shows nowadays, but the episodes are just plain too long in this show. Even the shorter ones are almost an hour, when I promise you, that everything that was covered in those episodes could have been covered comfortably in a solid 40 to 45 minutes. You can feel the show purposely slowing things down at times. The dialogue, the shots, the pauses, everything but the actual Pennywise stuff, which is why that's so amazing when it happens.
An hour has passed, and the teams are still tied at 1-1, which raises a pertinent question. What is taking so long?
I almost feel bad for being so critical because I do love the idea of these period pieces, pointing out problems with the military, the police, social issues, problems in school with the government, the treatment of mental health, racial segregation, all good stuff to cover individually if tackled individually, if given enough time individually. If there wasn't a scary clown running around giggling about scaring kids for funsies.
Mama! Mama! Mama!
What?
Hi.
When you have a lot to say in a limited amount of time, you end up saying a whole lot of nothing about a lot of different things. The point of all of these other scenes and plot points fall away with Pennywise there, and with not enough time dedicated to any of it, despite the fact that they have too much time to fill because watch time is king in the streaming industry. You see what the problem is here, right? There's too much that they want to say, too much time, but they don't mix it well enough, so it all falls apart.
And over and over and over and over.
Okay, Clay, I get the point.
No, you don't.
And while I do enjoy most aspects of this show separated from Pennywise as different period pieces and concepts, there was one single aspect of It Welcome to Derry that completely fell flat, and that is the desperate attempt to explain it, the monster, Pennywise. The backstory is horrifically terrible, and is narrated by a kid who sounds about as excited as if he was about to take a math quiz, and acted by actors who can't believe that they're being forced to enact this nonsense. They had to get into makeup and to costume to go out into the woods and bury some stupid MacGuffin. The end of episode 4 was so objectively awful in every conceivable way that it almost made me quit the show.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard.
Here's a tip, even coming from a guy that's not into the horror genre as much as other people. Explaining what the scary thing is makes it less scary, especially when no one involved seems like they want to do that backstory part. Luckily, I did hold on, because after that enormous wall of boringness and stupidity, we finally get to Pennywise actually showing up, and that makes everything worth it.
Coincidence? I think not!
There's a reason that a lot of characters in slasher flicks are one note, one dimensional, just like in this show. That way you keep watching when they're killed off by the monster. Pennywise is by far the most entertaining thing in this show. Everything else is so one note and long-winded that you almost want the clown to get them already, and that is horrible because they're talking about a lot of serious issues.
My fellow Americans, I think we all know where this is going, so let's just skip to the end.
Even if they make good points, even if the scenes are good, even if this would be an interesting biopic if you took out the clown aspects of it, this is the show about the monster which has to survive by the end, because this is a prequel. Pennywise is sticking around. These people are destined to lose. You're making a lot of good points by people who are going to be killed off, and we're going to enjoy seeing it. What were you thinking?
But why? Why would you do that? Why would you do any of that?
Individually, each part, each character could have been fleshed out into something amazing, but with how jam-packed, one-dimensional, and drawn-out everything is, they simply become fodder to Pennywise. They're not people to us, not in our eyes. They're prey to the monster, which would be fine if this was about Pennywise going on a killing spree before the original story, where nothing can stop him. But this is a show that's trying to be smarter and more important than what it actually is.
Keep using the word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
It, Welcome to Derry, could best be described as a puzzle where the pieces don't exactly fit perfectly together. It's a flawed image where you put it all together, but when you see the disturbing image of Pennywise with his razor-sharp maw drooling and covered in blood, and you just end up satisfied anyway, even with the problems that you just saw.
I liked it.
This is a flawed show, one that I do like, but it would have been better served to have one individual episode dedicated to each kid who ended up as one of Pennywise's victims, focusing on their ostracization from society, their struggles with specific fears, and these are just based on what the show already presented: discrimination, losing family members, guilt, the Holocaust, family abuse, the insane asylum, nuclear fallout, etc. These themes would have been better served with individual episodes to focus on them instead of being completely scattered and all over the place.
Oh my god. I get it.
It would also better emphasize the themes of outcasts coming together in the original story. Each kid in the prequel could have no one, no friends, no people who actually care about them, and that solitude is what allows Pennywise to win in the end. As it stands now, this is an unfocused, clumsy show held up by strong visuals, good acting, and Pennywise.
My work here is done.
It, Welcome to Derry, is better than the sum of its parts. I would recommend it to basically anyone who would be interested in it, but as long as I warn them to skip the last 20 minutes of episode 4. While The Man Standing Over My Bed was my nightmare as a kid, this boring piece of drivel is my worst nightmare as an adult. Skip that, and this is a solid experience that missed the mark by just a little bit. Better Call Saul as a prequel, this is not, but it's still worth watching.
Pretty gruesome, huh?
I've seen worse.
But what did you think? Did you like it, Welcome to Derry? Do you think that it would have been better served if they just focused on the individual kids and their ostracization in society? Do you completely disagree with me? Please leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And remember, if you disagree with everything I have to say, that is perfectly fine. After all, everyone is entitled to their objectively wrong opinion.
How does it feel to have lived long enough to see all of your favorite franchises go down in flames?
Feels great.
Thank you all so much for watching.
You're still here? Good night, everybody. Thank you. Bye. Boom.
Do not despair.